Last year, I stopped being a Zionist.
I started out the year actually thinking that we should transition away from a Garber presidency as quickly as possible. But over the course of last semester, or I guess spring semester, he really proved that he was a great leader for Harvard. And now she published a piece saying that we should keep Garber for as long as he wants.
And this past year, I feel like I learned a lot more about Harvard's governance and the systems that are put in place to sort of run the college. We ran a piece on the board of overseers. We were talking a lot about the next presidential pick. So I think I've gained a lot more context about that.
While initially very supportive of institutional neutrality, I've realized that institutional neutrality holds a lot of problems. And with a complex world that we live in, we really need to see if this is the right solution to Harvard's approach towards addressing public issues.
I changed my mind about institutional neutrality, largely because when I first heard about it, I think I just assumed, no, it's probably better for Harvard and other universities to say something about an issue if it is very close to the hearts or very important, or just like feels very obvious to members of its student body. They want to feel protected by their institution. However, after joining the Ed Board, I became convinced on the side of institutional neutrality. I think it makes far more sense for the institution itself to stay out of the more political sphere, unless, as they say, it pertains to their, central activities. And then that way, students can all express their opinions without feeling like they're conflicted with the universities.
I think that in the last year, being on the board, I've thought a lot about, what conversation looks like, how we can have dialogue, productively. Dialogue can look like a lot of different things. And sometimes the most productive conversations are those ones where we, avoid coming to consensus too early, and are able to really get into things, with folks who we might kind of broadly agree with, but realize that we do actually have quite a range of disagreement with when it comes to specifics.
Something I've changed my mind about over the past year is really how universities like Harvard approach education, where we've had this debate when it came to the beginning of the year as Claudine Gay faced different plagiarism allegations and then stepped down. When it came to the encampments, when it came to just the state of debate and dialogue on campus, there was this really strong focus on intellectual vitality and debate, that if we just kind of talk about our issues and face each other, even if we disagree, we'll find some better truth. And I think the reality that I've seen on campus over the past year is really one that shows debate for debate's sake is really something we should strive for. I think this makes me seem somewhat different from other people on campus where we talk about the need for dialogue, but I think really deliberative processes and debate processes are slightly different mechanisms for people to reach agreement on certain issues.
This has been a year in many ways where our institutions have been forced to reckon with ways in which the practices that they have adopted have become inconsistent in some important ways with their fundamental values. And I think as a member of a number of those institutions, as someone who lives in that same social context, I was maybe myself surprised by the ways in which those values were perhaps revealed to be strained or otherwise defied in some fashion by those practices.
I used to be more in support of protesting speakers who were coming to campus, especially if they were speakers that I felt held views that were, they're racist or, very clearly hateful or bigoted. I think over the past few months, I've kind of been wrestling with this topic, and I've now kind of come to the conclusion that, even if there's someone that I totally despise, and you can come up with the most kind of extreme of examples, I'm now kind of more in support of either just not going, or my preferred route would be to kind of attend the event and ask hard questions. And I definitely acknowledge that, going in and asking one tough question is maybe not going to have the same impact as, standing outside for the whole duration of the event and protesting it and getting everybody, going inside to think about maybe why they're not making the best points, but that's still what I've come to.